Okay, there we go. Well, hey, how's it going? I just watched Toy Story 2 and continuing on my marathon of watching the Toy Story movies before Toy Story 5 comes out. And man, I did not remember how, or I forgot how good this movie was. This I remembered so much of this movie. There were lines, there was music. This movie was very memorable, and it was like stirring up a lot of emotion in me as I was watching it, because I think it's just such a good movie. Like it resonated with me as a child, and it resonates with me now as an adult. And I think that speaks volumes to the storytelling of this movie and its ability to play to multiple audiences. I think I said this about the last movie too, that these Toy Story movies so far, they have something for everybody. They got a story for the younger audience that maybe they're not able to connect with what some of the characters are going through, but then there is a story for the older audience that can, they have a little bit more life that they've lived and time that they can reflect on. So I just think that this movie does, they balance those, the dichotomy of those two stories so well. So if I all right, I'm gonna try to remember kind of what happened from beginning to end of the movie. I recall that it kind of picks up where the last movie ended, and there's a garage sale that's happening. I might be skipping a couple. Oh, no, 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 no. It opens up with this scene of Buzz Lightyear flying through space, and it's a real like bait and switch from the first movie and what you think this movie is going to be. I think these movies I've noticed they always tend to start with some sort of like wild imagination scenario. And that was also a constant theme that I recognized throughout these movies is that they do a really good job of making you feel what it's like to be a child. They don't try to show you what a child sees necessarily because now that we're all adults, like we're going to relate to our childhoods in different ways, but instead they focus on eliciting a feeling. And the way that they opened up with Buzz Lightyear flying through the sky or flying through space and battling all these robots, what that does is it brings back the feeling of what it's like to use your imagination and to play with toys and have fun as a child. And what that looks like for a toy is just what this movie's interpretation of that feeling is. But it's cool to sort of for a brief moment revisit what Buzz Lightyear saw himself as, that like larger than life figure that was part of this well, what are they called, space troopers, I forget what they're called, space command, I don't remember. But it's cool to sort of revisit that and play to the child audience, and then once we it's revealed that oh it's Rex playing a video game, and this was the movie peering into that experience of what it's like to play a game as a kid. Once it's revealed, then it sort of like snaps you back to the more adult, matured storyline, because now we're with Buzz. He's grown from the last movie. He and Woody are pals now, and they're both like leaders of this toy group. And it from there something happens where oh Andy I think is getting ready to go to this cowboy camp, and every year he takes Woody. It's part of their tradition. But this year something happens and Andy decides to leave Woody. It's a change. His arm tears, which is a really just like I guess it's not subtle, but like it's a it's an interesting way to show the passage of time, that just as we in our everyday lives we grow old, our bodies break down, we fatigue. This toys, things also wear down. And I, I really like how the toy is it's such an appropriate vessel for telling the story of growing up and getting old and just life in general. There are so many different angles that you can play around with when you use the perspective of a toy. There's how everything is big, for example. To a toy, everything is big. The world is big, and when you're a child, everything seems big. You don't realize that that's just the size of the world, but everything's sort of like big and wondrous to you. And then as you grow up, you kind of start to assimilate to the size of the world. You start to fit in and find your place. And I think that is demonstrated by the confidence that the toys grow and being able to maneuver around the environment. I mean, like they're small, but they're so mobile. You see the way that Buzz jumps around and he's like swinging around. Like it's they've learned to adapt to their environment the way that humans adapt to their environment. So they are toys, but they're very relatable to humans. And so I'm going off on a tangent, but anyway, Woody's tears, and Andy can no longer take him to cowboy camp, and so he leaves Woody behind. And it's like, oh, this is new. This hasn't happened before. It's always been me and Andy, and we've been pals, and it's sort of like been Woody's purpose. And now for the first time we see, and we saw this in the first movie too. Woody's, you know, something about Woody's character was challenged, and last time it was his ego. This time it's more focused because it was his ego because Buzz is coming up, and now there's like this rival toy that's vying for the spot of Andy's favorite toy. In this movie, it's more Woody's like identity is getting challenged because his identity is all wrapped up in being Andy's favorite toy and being the thing that brings joy in life to Andy, almost like a parent to a child relationship, which is another very interesting angle that the story takes, because now we see the story of what it's like to be a child because everything is large and wondrous. You see the story of what it's like to be sort of more middle-aged because you grow up and you learn things. And then there's even like the perspective of what a parent, a more parental role might feel when their dependent, the one they've been responsible for, starts to become independent and they're able to go off and do things on their own. And so now Woody has to learn to get accustomed to this. Now he has to do some growing. It's just constant growing and growing, and all the characters are constantly developing. There's constantly forward momentum in not only the story, but like the characters' internal struggles. And this is why I said earlier, this is not just a good animated movie. This is a good movie. I just didn't realize when I was a kid that I was watching a good movie. I thought I was watching a really good animated movie. And now watching it as an adult, it's the reason why it works so well for kids and adults is because the focus is not on the fact that it's an animated movie. The focus is on the ideas and the themes of growing up, and because those undergird everything else within the movie, the animation, the music, that's all really top quality, but it's second to the main focus, which is the story of growing up, which people are constantly doing and that they constantly can relate to. And so then you have like there's like, oh man, I'm gonna spend too much time on each part of this story, but skipping ahead a little bit, eventually Woody ends up at a garage sale and a toy collector comes along, and he sees this classic vintage toy. We don't know anything about Woody's past, right? We know a lot. We learned a lot about who Buzz was, like the toy Buzz, who that is in the first Toy Story movie. All we know about Woody is that he's Andy's toy. That's like, and they've almost had like opposite trajectories in the development of the characters. Buzz was sort of, he identified as more the the group Buzz Lightyear, like what all of these Buzz Lightyears are, who wherever that idea came from, who knows in the toy lore. Woody's identity was based off of um, his relationship with Andy. Maybe there was something before, but that's where we come into the story. And now he's without Andy, sort of rediscovering who he is. And we start to learn, oh, he's like this old, valuable, rare toy who had like a run in the 50s, maybe 50s, 60s. And he's like a popular character. And Woody's starting to have like a little bit of internal conflict of, do I stay with this group of toys that sort of like have given me this new meaning, or do I stay with Andy, who sort of gives me this you know visceral sense of purpose? That one is a little bit more like more of a head pull, and the other is more of a heart pull, and it's like tackling two different wants that we want to fill in our lives. The the want to be loved, the want to be known, or whatever. There's probably like different variations of what those two things are that he's battling. But yeah, it splits off into like this real, like, Woody's really dealing with an identity, a bit of an identity crisis now. And then we also learn a little bit about Jessie, who is a new character, and she seemingly on the surface kind of just is only thinking about herself and wrapped up in in using Woody to her advantage, so that she can go to Japan and be displayed in a museum. But then we come to learn that she's also gone through something similar to what Woody has, but in her own sort of unique way. And that is like a super beautifully told and tragic subplot to this main plot. We get like this really, really great song, but who sings this song? What's it called? When She Loved Me by Sarah McLachlan. I don't even know what other music she's done, but I remember every word of this song. I used to sing it all the time growing up. I used to parody it. I still sing it on karaoke every once in a while when it comes up, but I don't even like think of Toy Story. The song is like in my memories and in my heart. It's a very like, this movie knows how to just cut to the chase with, I'm going to give you like all of these like feelings, and I'm gonna tell them, there's there's like no fluff about it. They just cut straight to the real human stuff. And yeah, and then the toys, Buzz and the group, they're on their own story trying to rescue Woody. And that's a really cool, like, the Toy Story movies do a really good job of crew dynamic. A group of more than three people, and they're all working together to achieve some sort of common goal. In this case, it's a rescue mission. They're on a rescue, and we have all these cool scenes, like when they're inside the traffic cones and they're using them as barriers to protect themselves from traffic. That's just a cool idea to visualize from a toy's perspective. And so they go on this whole journey. We even get to see the real Zurg, and there's a little funny homage to Star Wars, with it being revealed that Zurg is actually Buzz's father. Just like really fun, clever stuff like that. Just kept the movie interesting and entertaining throughout. And then we get this really gut-wrenching moment where Woody chooses his new friends over Buzz, which is like, so when you have the backdrop of the first Toy Story, where Buzz really came to his own because of Woody, because Woody sort of like showed him, like, you're just a toy, you keep on creating, you have this delusion about who you are. You're a toy. You need to come down to earth. And he does, and he accepts all of that, and he stops trying to like chase this idea of who he thinks he is. He accepts exactly who he is. And now he sees Woody doing the exact thing that that he saved Buzz from in the first movie. And Buzz is like, you know, like, oh man, what's going on? But like, you see the growth in Buzz because he just looks at him. He's like, he's not coming with us. Like, he just, like, man, so much facial acting in this movie. So much acting with the eyes, as much as they are like, there's a scene where the toys are like, you know, asleep, and then they come to life, and that smoothness of that transition is so, I don't know, it just looks so natural. Even though the animation is fairly old, the technique is very crisp, and that carries the more like low resolutionness of the animation. And I don't want to spend too much time talking about this movie because I could keep saying a lot about it. I have 2 more movies to go, 3 and 4, and then we're gonna watch 5 this weekend. I'm really excited about it. But I had this realization the other day because I was thinking about trilogies, and I know Toy Story is not a trilogy, but it's got 3, you know, now 5 movies. But I was thinking about movie sagas that get better as they progress, and not every movie series is able to do that. Some movies are like, you know, 1's pretty good, 2 is amazing, then 3 drops down a little bit, then 4 is good again. The one example that comes to mind is Lord of the Rings. Between 1, 2, and 3, it just gets better and better and better, and just ends on a super high note. To me, at least from Toy Story 1 to 3, I get the same feeling. I was trying to think of other movie trilogies that rival Lord of the Rings, and Toy Story is the only one that came to mind. I thought maybe the Batman series, but The Dark Knight is just so much better than. It's actually been a while since I've seen. See, I don't even remember the third movie's name, but just Dark Knight is such a top of the line movie. Same with the Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire one. Spider-Man 2 is the climax. Not the climax, is the top movie of those 3 for me. But Toy Story 3 is the only one that comes to mind right now where it just between 1 and 2 and 3 is just better and better and better. And I'm really excited to see Toy Story 3 again. Toy Story has it does a really good job of like tracking growth. Even at the end of this second movie, there's this quick scene where Molly's taking steps. It's like, oh, she's walking now. In the first movie, she was a baby. We don't linger on it too much, but it's like we're showing you these kids are growing up, and pretty soon there's going to be a point where you know, the toys are going to get left behind. Everybody knows it because everyone's gone through it, and it's like, how are the toys going to handle that? And man, it just I miss when Pixar movies were like this. They're not like this now. I feel like they're I don't know. Sometimes they're playing to the lowest common denominator. They're not telling like real genuine stories anymore. It's just like, what has worked. Let's just keep telling what has worked. What has made money in the last couple of movies, and let's just like really fine tune that formula. I don't know. Just something about these older movies, they just have so much heart to them. But anyway, that being said, I'm really excited to see Toy Story 5, and looking forward to doing a review on the next few Toy Stories. So cool. Thanks for watching. Bye.